I'm a child of divorce and the daughter of a man who lived with a drug addiction. I was very close with my parents, especially my dad. And until the age of 7, I spent a lot of time with him. But when I was 7, my parents divorced, and I stopped seeing my dad. I didn't understand why he was no longer in our home. He would tell me, "Blair, I'm going to come to your birthday party." And I would be at the roller rink, and I would do a lap, wait by the door for him. He wouldn't come. Do another lap, wait by the door. He never showed up. This happened over and over again. I thought my dad stopped loving me. But what I didn't know was that my dad developed a very bad drug addiction to hard drugs. And he sold his business and left our family because he didn't want to be around us because of his addiction. No one sat with me and had a conversation. No one sat with me and told me that he still loved me or that he was unwell. So growing up, I grew up with a broken heart, abandonment issues, trust issues. And it wasn't until my 20s, when I was gifted a trip to go to a personal development forum, that I was able to forgive him, because there I was given the tools. I remember calling him and telling him, "I'm sorry for ever hating you, and I'm willing to accept whatever relationship you can give me. And I accept you for who you are." And from that moment on, he began his journey towards sobriety. He developed a relationship with me. He began to be more involved in our family life. I got my father back by accepting him. And I got to know him as an adult. And guess what? I learned that my dad loved me that entire time. He even got to walk me down the aisle with my mom at our wedding. I never thought that was going to happen. But at the end of 2018, we learned that my father was terminally ill. He had COPD, and eventually we learned he also had lung cancer. He was given 1.5 to 2 years left to live. I felt robbed. My heart was reshattered. Why is my dad being taken away from me again? I just got him back. And this time, I started processing what was happening out loud, meaning anyone who would sit with me and have a coffee, I would share my story, unsolicited, of course. I would share our story of his addiction, my forgiveness, our resilience, and it was doing something really special. It was inspiring people, and the type of comments I was getting after, "Blair, your story inspired me to get a therapist. Your story inspired me to choose sobriety. Your story inspired me to forgive my parent before they die." And people were then sharing their stories with me, stories they've never shared before. "Blair, I don't know why I'm sharing this. I've never shared this with anyone." I was like, "Oh, I'm honored." So I said, "Dad, we have something really special. What if we write a book and we gather stories of resilience from around the world, and we start the book with your story, and we end the book with my story, so when you're no longer here, we can still help people?" And so in March 2019, I started the Global Resilience Project, and I started working on a book to honor our legacy. I started researching, what is resilience? And what I was learning was that resilience was defined as bouncing back. Bouncing back. What are we going back to? Once you go through something, you're never going back. No, we're not. We're not going back there. We're going forward. So I redefine resilience as the ability to bounce forward from a challenging experience. We are bouncing forward because we're never the same. We're going forward. And then you know what else I realized? We have this muscle. It's not visible to the naked eye. It runs through every fiber of our being, from the top of our head to the tips of our toes. Medical imaging won't show you this muscle. You're not going to see it on a poster in a biology lab. But we all have it. And there are things that you can do to make it stronger. And it's called the resilience muscle. Yes, that's right. We are all born with it. We have a resilience muscle. And there are things that you can do using neuroscience, science of the brain, to make this muscle stronger. So I start to work on this project with this new information that I've learned and researched. And little did I know about how my resilience muscle was going to be coming into play. After learning about my father's terminal illness and launching this project, my grandfather died. On the way home from the funeral, my husband and I got in a car accident on the highway, and I got a concussion. A few months later, my husband almost died. He had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery, open heart surgery, in his early 40s. Then the pandemic happened. We all know that story. We were trying to get pregnant, and we were struggling, and we were told we probably couldn't get pregnant naturally. So we decided to put that on pause, and my heart was broken. We stopped trying. We got pregnant, but we miscarried. 3 weeks after the miscarriage, my father-in-law suddenly died after a 3-week battle with cancer. 3 months later, my mother suddenly died after a 3-week battle with cancer. And not even a year later, my father, who was dying this entire time, died in the same week as my mother, but a year apart. I wanted to give up. Holding space for over 3 years of people sharing their most vulnerable moments with me, I wanted to give up, but I didn't. I put one foot in front of the other because I had the tools that I needed to strengthen my resilience muscle and to keep moving forward, to bounce forward. Do you want to know what 5 of those secrets are? This is where you say yes. Yes. Okay, great. So number 1, practicing gratitude. If you practice gratitude every single day at the exact same time, and at this time you list 3 things you're grateful for from the past 24 hours, and you do this for at least 21 days, the neural pathways in your brain change so that you see the world in a more positive way. I learned this in 2016, and it seemed like not true. I was like, nah, that seems too easy. But I pulled my phone out, I set an alarm for 9 p.m. to go off every single day, and I called it the gratitude alarm. And guess what? It still goes off today. If I'm at a party, we stop what we're doing and we do the gratitude. If I'm by myself, I will text my husband. Wherever I am, I practice gratitude. When Shane was in the hospital for 3 weeks, we practiced gratitude every day at 9 p.m. The day my mother went to sleep her final time, we all listed gratitude, me, my mom, and my sister. My mom's final words were, "I'm grateful for you, you, and you." And my sister and I were like, "Who's the third you?" And she said, "Me." Some of her final words, my mother, Sharon. So I invite you to set a gratitude alarm. Secret number 2, forest bathing. Forest, for rest. Make time to go into the forest and walk amongst the trees. The term forest bathing was coined in the 80s, and it simply means spend time in nature amongst the trees. I make sure I do that every single day. In fact, if you spend at least 10 minutes a day in outdoor green spaces, the stress hormone cortisol will lower. That sounds pretty sweet, doesn't it? So I invite you to find time to go spend in nature every single day. Number 3, fueling your body. Now, we all know that what we eat and what we drink and what we don't eat and what we don't drink matter. But what are we doing with what we watch and what we listen to, what we smell? What you put in your face holes matter. Okay? I love watching certain shows that involve hospitals and trauma. after my mom passed away, I actually pretty much stopped watching TV. I knew that I needed my nervous system to relax, and watching shows with trauma would trigger a fight, flight, or freeze response. So I watched my comfort shows, Friends and Sex and the City. Music. I like all sorts of music. Rock and roll, hip hop. Certain music relaxes me. Certain music makes me a little jittery. I focused on the music that would relax me. You get the drift? What you put in your face holes matter, okay? That's really important. So number 3, sleep. Prioritize sleep. We know this, but we don't practice this. I know that I need 8 hours of sleep a night. If you don't get enough sleep, you have trouble regulating your emotions. Increased anxiety, increased stress, increased crankiness. What can you do to make your sleep better? What do you do before bed? Do you get into bed and watch TV? Do you scroll on your phone? Are you doom scrolling? What are you doing that's taking away from quality sleep? We need to make sure that we are prioritizing our sleep, because this is imperative to strengthening our resilience muscle. And secret number 5, sharing your story. There's a phenomenon called neural coupling. And what this is that when someone tells a story, so the storyteller, and someone listening to the story, all of you, your brains are synchronizing right now with mine. It's science. And what this does is that it builds empathy. And empathy is important to building emotional resilience. So sharing your story is important because it helps other people heal. It helps other people not feel so alone. And also sharing your story helps you heal. It helps you process your emotions and what you're going through. Now, you can share your story in a journal, to a trusted mental health professional, to yourself in a mirror. Or you can stand on a red dot, like I am. You could write it down and put it in a book. But sharing your story will help you build your resilience muscle. It'll help you strengthen it. Unfortunately, the Global Resilience Project book did not make it into the hands of my father before he died. But in June 2022, the book came out and it became a bestseller. And what I realized was that it was more than a book. The Global Resilience Project turned into a social enterprise, into a global movement where we publish books. We have a clothing line. We have a podcast. I'm a motivational speaker and a writer. What I did was turn my pain into purpose. And so here I am, a 39-year-old, sober, childless, parentless birdwatcher, pouring my heart out to a bunch of strangers, but knowing that turning my pain into purpose is going to help you strengthen your resilience muscle. Thank you.